Namanya Rosh.
Guy, you not cooked it and you're eating. Why are they eating? Your stomach is not going to ache.
Ever wondered how indigenous tribes manage to make the most of their ingredients, no matter how scarce? From maximising every ingredient to using natural tools, we're revealing 15 of their best-kept secrets. 1. Using every part of the animal. Indigenous communities don't waste a single piece when they prepare meat. They transform bones into rich, flavourful broths that simmer for hours, pulling out minerals and collagen that store-bought stocks simply can't match. These bone broths form the foundation of countless meals, each one saving money that would otherwise go toward expensive boxed versions. The marrow inside these bones? It's packed with nutrients and spreads like butter on toast. Tribes across the Americas still practice these waste-reducing methods, showing us that what some call scraps are actually valuable ingredients. Animal organs remain prized ingredients in indigenous kitchens today, not the afterthoughts they have become in mainstream cooking. Liver delivers more iron, vitamin A and B vitamins than almost any other food on the planet, and costs a fraction of muscle meats at the butcher counter. Indigenous cooks know exactly how to prepare these nutrient bombs. They soak them in milk to remove any strong flavours, cook them quickly to maintain tenderness, and pair them with bold seasonings that complement their rich taste. Even the fat gets rendered into cooking oil or tallow that stays stable at high temperatures and costs nothing extra. When Indigenous communities butcher an animal, they honour its sacrifice by using everything. The skin becomes containers or clothing, tendons transform into binding material, and hooves make gelatin. Their ongoing traditions teach us that respecting animals means using them completely, which benefits both our wallets and our planet. 2. Cooking in banana or corn leaves. Walk through indigenous markets in Central America or Southeast Asia today, and you will see food vendors wrapping everything from tamales to fish in fresh green leaves. This isn't just a quaint tradition, it's smart cooking that saves serious money. These leaves create perfect little ovens that trap steam and infuse food with subtle aromatic compounds you can't get from aluminum foil or parchment paper. The natural silica in banana leaves prevents sticking without needing expensive oils or sprays. In many regions, families still gather these leaves for free from plants growing nearby, eliminating the recurring cost of disposable cooking materials altogether. The genius of leaf-wrapped cooking goes beyond just saving on wrapping materials. The moisture-sealing properties mean foods cook in their own juices, requiring less added fat and fewer expensive ingredients to achieve incredible flavour. Fish steamed in leaves needs minimal seasoning because the wrapper itself adds complexity to the dish. Rice cooked this way absorbs gentle botanical notes that make plain grains taste special without fancy additions. Indigenous cooks continue passing down specific leaf pairing knowledge, which leaves work best with which foods, when to pick them for optimal flavour, and how to fold them to prevent leaks. This tradition remains alive because it works so effectively, creating foods that taste better while costing less. When you cook with leaves instead of foil, you're not just saving a few dollars, you're tapping into centuries of culinary wisdom that elevates simple ingredients without expensive additives. 3. Making natural sweeteners. Indigenous communities across the Americas actively tap trees for sap each spring, continuing centuries-old practices that deliver sweetness without refined sugar. They know exactly when to drill small holes into maple, birch, and walnut trees to catch the rising sap that flows freely for just a few weeks each year. This clear liquid transforms through careful boiling into rich syrups that pack concentrated sweetness and distinct flavours no factory can replicate. One maple tree produces enough sap to make about a gallon of syrup, worth over $50 at store prices, using nothing but thyme and firewood. In the desert southwest, tribes still harvest agave plants and reduce their juice into syrup that sweetens foods while keeping blood sugar levels more stable than processed alternatives. These natural sweeteners work differently in cooking too, bringing complexity that white sugar can't touch. Indigenous cooks understand that date paste binds baked goods while sweetening them, eliminating the need for both sugar and expensive eggs in some recipes. They concentrate fruit juices into thick reductions that deliver intense sweetness in smaller quantities than processed sugar, stretching precious ingredients further. Even humble vegetables like sweet potatoes and carrots become sweeteners when properly prepared. Roasted until their starches convert to sugar, then pureed as bases for desserts. What makes these indigenous sweetening methods so valuable isn't just their natural origins, but their multifunctional nature. Maple syrup doesn't just sweeten, it brings minerals and antioxidants. Honey preserves food while adding flavour. When Indigenous communities choose these options over granulated sugar, they are making an economical choice that packs more nutrition and flavour per teaspoon. 4. Fermenting and preserving. These tribes don't let seasonal abundance go to waste. They transform it into future food security through fermentation techniques still practiced daily. In Korea, families continue making kimchi together, turning humble cabbage into probiotic-rich preserved vegetables that last months in cool storage. Across the Arctic, Indigenous peoples ferment fish and meat in carefully controlled conditions, creating distinctive foods like Alaskan agutuk that provide crucial nutrition when fresh food becomes scarce. These aren't historical curiosities, but living traditions that save money by capturing peak season abundance when prices drop lowest, then extending usability far beyond normal shelf life. The microbial magic happening in these ferments doesn't just preserve, it creates entirely new flavours and boosts nutritional profiles. Indigenous fermentation experts understand how beneficial bacteria transform ordinary foods into digestive powerhouses. They control temperature and salt levels precisely to encourage the right microbes while discouraging harmful ones. A simple cabbage becomes complex sauerkraut loaded with vitamin C that help prevent scurvy through countless winters. Fish fermented with berries and fat creates a calorie-dense food that requires no refrigeration, critical in regions where electricity costs remain prohibitively expensive. Even grains undergo transformation through indigenous fermentation techniques, breaking down hard-to-digest components and releasing nutrients that would otherwise remain locked away. When tribes in the Pacific Northwest smoke salmon or peoples of the Amazon dry manioc into flour, they are actively practicing food security techniques that stretch resources through lean times. By mastering just a few of these indigenous preservation methods, modern households can slash grocery bills by buying at peak harvest and enjoying the transformed foods for months afterward. The initial time investment pays dividends with each meal pulled from the preservation pantry instead of the grocery store. 5. Cooking with clay pots. Indigenous potters still craft cooking vessels from earth beneath their feet, creating cookware that outperforms expensive modern alternatives without the hefty price tag. From Morocco's tagines to Mexico's cazuelas, these handcrafted pots transfer heat differently than metal, slowly and evenly from all sides rather than intensely from the bottom alone. This gentle heat transforms tough, inexpensive cuts of meat into tender meals without constant attention or stirring. The microscopic pores in these clay vessels breathe during cooking, allowing just enough moisture exchange to concentrate flavours naturally. Many Indigenous communities maintain their own distinct clay cooking traditions, with specific shapes designed for particular dishes: deep pots for stews, shallow ones for flatbreads, specialised steamers for tamales. The economic advantage of cooking in clay extends well beyond the initial purchase price. These pots significantly reduce fuel consumption by retaining heat exceptionally well. Once hot, They need only minimal fire or gas to maintain cooking temperatures. Indigenous cooks leverage this property by clustering clay cooking vessels near a single heat source, preparing multiple dishes with the fuel that would cook just one meal in metal pots. The thermal properties also make overcooking less likely, reducing food waste from burned or dried out meals. Perhaps most impressively, properly cared for clay cookware lasts generations. Many Indigenous families still cook with pots inherited from grandparents or even great-grandparents. The slight mineral taste that clay imparts to food enhances flavour without added ingredients, making simple foods taste more satisfying without expensive seasonings. When beans simmer in a traditional clay pot, they develop a creamier texture without adding butter or oil. Rice takes on a subtle earthiness that makes it taste complete with minimal additions. Even water stored in unglazed clay vessels stays naturally cool through evaporation while gaining beneficial minerals from the clay itself. 6. Using ash or wood for cooking. When Indigenous cooks fire up their meals, they don't worry about utility bills climbing higher or propane tanks running empty. They tap into the original cooking fuel, wood, and use it with remarkable efficiency. Traditional cooking fires aren't the roaring bonfires many might picture. They are carefully controlled heat sources that use surprisingly little wood. Many Indigenous cooking methods use just a few sticks to prepare entire meals by designing specialised hearths that focus heat exactly where needed. Some tribes build small raised platforms of clay or stone that lift cooking vessels closer to flames, reducing the amount of wood needed while protecting the fire from wind. The real money-saving magic happens when Indigenous cooks incorporate ash into their cooking techniques. Far from being waste material, wood ash becomes a valuable tool in traditional kitchens. Certain tribes use ash to nixtamalize corn, breaking down the tough outer shell and releasing nutrients that would otherwise pass through the body undigested. This transforms ordinary corn into a nutritional powerhouse while making it more digestible, all without expensive equipment or commercial products. Others mix a small amount of clean white ash into certain dishes as a natural salt substitute, saving money on this kitchen staple. Some communities even cook foods buried directly in the clean ash and embers after the flames die down, using residual heat that would otherwise go to waste. The earth ovens used by many tribes capture and hold this heat efficiently, cooking foods thoroughly with minimal fuel. By understanding fire as a multi-stage resource, from active flame to hot coals to warm ash, Indigenous cooks extract maximum value from every branch and twig they gather. 7. Making flour from roots and seeds. Indigenous communities don't run to the store when they need flour for cooking. They often make their own from plants growing nearby. Acorns, which fall free from oak trees by the thousands each year, become nutritious flour after proper leaching to remove bitter tannins. Cattail roots harvested from wetlands yield a starchy powder that works beautifully in many recipes. Wild rice isn't just cooked whole, but sometimes ground into specialty flour. These homemade alternatives work differently than store-bought wheat flour, often creating distinctive textures and flavours impossible to get from commercial products. The economic independence this practice creates goes far beyond saving a few dollars on flour. By mastering the art of turning abundant local plants into cooking staples, Indigenous cooks free themselves from dependency on commercial food systems. Cassava roots become tapioca and flour throughout tropical regions, supporting entire communities with minimal cash outlay. Corn transformed into masa through nixtamalization forms the foundation of countless meals across the Americas. The natural variations in these homemade flours turn what might be seen as inconsistency into culinary advantage. Some batches work better for flatbreads, others for thickening stews, creating natural diversity in cooking applications. Unlike commercial flours stripped of nutrients during processing, many traditional flour alternatives retain their full nutritional profile, meaning they not only cost less, but provide more sustenance per serving. When combined with traditional knowledge about how to use these ingredients effectively, these alternative flours transform from money-saving substitutes into preferred ingredients with unique properties worth celebrating. 8. Sun-drying foods. The most energy-efficient appliance in an indigenous kitchen isn't an appliance at all, it's the sun overhead. Traditional communities harness solar power to preserve everything from meat to fruits, without spending a cent on electricity or special equipment. Fish laid on rocks or hung on racks in the hot sun transform from highly perishable protein into long-lasting food reserves. Berries spread on flat baskets concentrate their sweetness while extending their usability from days to months. Even greens and herbs that might wilt and spoil quickly become valuable pantry staples after proper drying. The beauty of this ancient technique lies in its simplicity. No switches, no settings, no instruction manuals needed. What makes sun drying particularly clever is how it concentrates both flavour and nutrition while reducing weight and volume. Tomatoes that might sell for a few dollars at summer's peak become intensely flavoured, dried treasures that would cost many times more at specialty markets. Fruits that might rot before a family could eat them all transform into portable, preserved treats that retain most of their nutritional value. Indigenous drying techniques often include knowledge about the perfect timing for each food. Certain items need specific humidity levels or drying times to reach ideal preservation. Many cultures add minimal salt or smoke to the process, creating complex flavours while ensuring food safety. The dried foods take up far less storage space than their fresh counterparts, making storage simpler and more efficient. When rehydrated months later, these preserved foods bring the essence of summer abundance into lean seasons, creating food security without refrigeration, canning equipment, or ongoing energy costs. 9. Coconut everything. Indigenous communities in tropical regions treat coconut palms like their personal grocery stores, hardware shops, and kitchenware suppliers all rolled into one. They extract rich milk by squeezing grated coconut meat mixed with water. Need I remind you that this is a process that costs nothing, but yields a cooking liquid more flavourful than anything in cartons or cans. The oil pressed from coconut meat becomes cooking fat, skin moisturiser, hair conditioner, and lamp fuel all in one. Even immature coconuts serve multiple purposes. Their sweet water provides hydration, while the soft meat inside offers easily digestible nutrition. Nothing gets thrown away because every part has proven useful through centuries of innovative problem solving. The versatility of coconut continues beyond food and into household goods. The hard shells become natural bowls, cups and containers that last for years with proper care. Coconut husks transform into scrubbing brushes for cleaning dishes without purchasing plastic versions. The fibrous material makes excellent kindling for cooking fires and can be twisted into strong rope when needed. Fronds from the trees become roofing material, baskets and mats, items that would otherwise require cash to purchase. Indigenous communities understand that maximising resources isn't just about using everything. It's about finding multiple uses for each thing. The water from a coconut quenches thirst, then the meat provides food, then the shell becomes a utensil, and finally any remaining bits compost into soil for growing more food. This closed-loop approach eliminates waste while drastically reducing the need for purchased goods. 10. Bulk cooking. Indigenous cooks rarely fire up the heat source to prepare just one meal. They think bigger and smarter. Traditional community cooking often happens in large batches that feed families for days while making the most efficient use of precious fuel. A single fire might cook several different dishes positioned strategically to capture different heat levels. Stews and beans simmer in the hottest spots, while breads bake in moderate areas and herbs dry at the outer edges. Nothing gets wasted because every bit of heat produced serves a purpose. This approach transforms cooking from a repetitive daily chore into a less frequent but more productive activity that frees up time for other important work. The economic benefits of this bulk cooking approach multiply with every meal. Foods cooked together often develop deeper, more complex flavours as they have time to meld and mature. A large pot of beans might serve as the base for multiple different meals throughout the week. One day paired with corn, another with wild greens, and yet another transformed into bean cakes. Indigenous cooks master the art of planned leftovers, where today's main dish becomes tomorrow's ingredient in something new. They understand that many foods actually improve after a day or two as flavours develop and ingredients marry. This approach reduces the temptation of expensive convenience foods because quick meals are already waiting at home. It also minimises cleaning time and water usage, since cooking equipment gets dirtied less frequently. 11th, one pot. Cooking methods. When you get to some communities, you will be welcomed with tribes who have mastered the art of cooking complete, nutritionally balanced meals in a single vessel. This practice is one that continues saving fuel, water, and cleaning time in households around the world. From the traditional Pueblo clay micaceous bean pot to the Three Sisters stew combining corn, beans, and squash in one bubbling pot. These techniques layer flavours while simplifying cooking. The ingredients aren't thrown in haphazardly. Indigenous cooks add each component precisely when needed, ensuring everything finishes cooking simultaneously. Tougher ingredients go in first, creating a flavour base that infuses through everything added later. This isn't just convenient, it's economically brilliant, capturing every molecule of flavour and nutrition that might otherwise be lost when straining or using multiple cooking vessels. The real genius in Indigenous one-pot cooking shows in how it transforms humble ingredients through their interaction with each other. Beans release starch that naturally thickens the cooking liquid. Corn provides sweetness that balances acidic ingredients. Herbs infuse through everything rather than remaining isolated in separate dishes. Indigenous cooks actively use this interplay to create dishes greater than the sum of their parts, making inexpensive staples taste completely satisfying. The method preserves nutrients that might be discarded with cooking water in other techniques and maximizes the flavor impact of precious ingredients like meat by distributing their essence throughout the dish. Many traditional one-pot meals deliberately extend small amounts of animal protein with larger portions of plants. 12th, wild food foraging. For many Indigenous communities, knowing the land means knowing what it offers. Long before supermarkets, they understood which wild plants could be eaten, when to gather them, and how to prepare them for both taste and nutrition. Foods like wild onions, mushrooms, huckleberries and pine nuts have long added variety and nourishment to meals, all without spending a dime. In many regions, traditional seasonal outings still happen, timed with care to ensure each harvest is taken when the plants are at their best. These gatherings aren't casual strolls through the woods. They are guided by generations of knowledge. Each plant has its season, and Indigenous foragers know exactly when and how to collect it, to preserve both the flavour and the future of the plant. It's not just about feeding families, it's about maintaining a balance with nature. And the benefits go beyond food security. Wild ingredients often bring bold, rich flavours that you won't find in store-bought versions. A small handful of wild herbs or greens like lamb's quarters or purslane, often seen as weeds, can transform a meal while offering more minerals than many vegetables from the produce aisle. Indigenous foragers also practice sustainability. taking only what's needed, leaving the rest, and helping ensure these food sources thrive for years to come. By combining wild and homegrown ingredients, many communities build flexible food systems that stand up to tough times. A walk in the forest might bring home mushrooms that end up in a stew made from garden vegetables. Forage berries can sweeten grain-based dishes without the need for processed sugar. This deep-rooted relationship with nature shows that some of the most nourishing, flavourful and cost-effective foods don't come with a price tag. They come from knowing where and how to look. 13. Cooking with hot stones. Across continents and cultures, indigenous communities have long relied on hot stone cooking, a method that needs no fancy stove, expensive cookware, or even electricity. Just rocks, fire, and know-how. Whether it's a New England clam bake, a Hawaiian imu, or the use of heated stones in a Mexican bean pot, the approach remains both simple and ingenious. Stones are first heated in open flames, then carefully placed into pits, baskets, or cooking vessels. As they release their heat slowly, they cook everything from meats and stews to grains and root vegetables. The result? Deep, layered flavours and perfectly cooked meals, with virtually no fuel burned beyond the initial fire. But this isn't just about tradition or rustic charm. Hot stone cooking is practical and resourceful, especially in communities where fuel is limited or expensive. In some areas of Mexico, hot stones are dropped straight into pots of beans or soup, causing an instant boil without the need to keep a fire going. In places where wood or gas might be scarce, this method provides a sustainable, low-cost way to prepare food while conserving valuable resources. The economic and culinary benefits don't stop there. The slow, even heat of the stones transforms ingredients in ways that modern appliances often struggle to replicate. Tough cuts of meat turn soft and juicy without needing added oils or long cooking times. Beans become silky smooth. Even grains like corn and rice take on new life. The stones act like natural slow cookers or pressure cookers, helping to preserve flavour while preventing burning. Another key to avoiding waste. Indigenous cooks are also selective when it comes to the stones themselves. They choose rocks based on how well they hold and release heat. Some are perfect for slow roasting, while others are ideal for flash cooking or searing. This thoughtful selection and timing reflect a deep understanding of both the material and the food. It's not guesswork, it's inherited knowledge, passed down and fine-tuned through generations. In earth ovens, heated stones are often combined with layers of leaves, moisture, and insulation to trap steam and create pressure. Similar to a modern pressure cooker, but without the plastic, metal, or electricity. It's low-tech and high impact, and the food smoky, tender, and unforgettable. A piece of fish or root vegetable cooked this way tastes of earth, fire, and history. They could cut costs, save energy, and help people reconnect with food in a deeper, more meaningful way. 14th, ingredient swapping. In Indigenous cooking traditions, resourcefulness is a way of life. When certain ingredients aren't readily available or are simply too expensive, cooks rely on creative substitutions that still deliver on flavour, nutrition, and cultural significance. This isn't about cutting corners, it's about using deep knowledge of natural ingredients and local environments to adapt and thrive. For example, instead of using imported flour to thicken stews or soups, some Indigenous cooks use ground seeds, nuts, or tubers like cattail roots. If oil is scarce or costly, naturally oily seeds or rendered animal fats are used in cooking. Foraged herbs and wild greens often replace dried store-bought spices, offering bolder, fresher tastes without any cost. Even when preparing sweets, creative substitutions come into play, like using mashed squash or dried fruit in place of refined sugar, or thickening puddings with plant-based starches instead of boxed mixes. These practices aren't just about survival, they are about flavour and sustainability. The knowledge to make these swaps comes from generations of observation, experimentation and experience. It's a living form of culinary innovation grounded in tradition. Instead of relying on convenience foods or packaged ingredients, Indigenous households have long depended on what's already in their kitchens, gardens or natural surroundings. The results are meals that are deeply personal, culturally rooted and surprisingly modern in their low-cost, low-waste approach. Today, these traditional substitution techniques are not only relevant but increasingly valuable for anyone looking to stretch a food budget, avoid unnecessary purchases, and minimise reliance on store-bought goods. 15. Trading and sharing. In many Indigenous communities, food is more than just nourishment. It's a shared resource that helps weave people together. One of the most enduring and practical traditions is bartering and sharing ingredients with others in the community. Instead of relying solely on buying food, people trade what they have in abundance for what they need. A family with extra corn might exchange it for smoked fish, wild berries, or fresh meat from a recent hunt. Someone with a large garden harvest may offer squash or beans in return for herbs, salt, or dried fruit. These exchanges aren't formal transactions. They are acts of mutual support and trust that build stronger community ties. This approach greatly reduces the pressure to buy everything from a store, especially in remote areas or during times of scarcity. It also ensures that no food goes to waste and that every household has access to a wider variety of ingredients. Beyond the practical benefits, bartering encourages the sharing of stories, recipes, and traditional knowledge. When ingredients are exchanged, cooking tips and family traditions often follow. This helps preserve cultural identity while also adapting to changing circumstances. In many tribal settings, these practices are still active and vital. Seasonal gatherings, like berry picking or fish smoking, often become opportunities for trading and social connection. Food becomes a bridge that links families, generations, and neighbouring groups. In times of economic stress or environmental hardship, these networks become even more important, providing a safety net built not on money, but on relationships and shared responsibility. Bartering systems remind us that food has always been a communal experience and that the most sustainable systems are often the most human. In a modern world increasingly shaped by individualism and commercialism, these Indigenous traditions offer a valuable model for resilience, cooperation, and meaningful connection through something as simple and as powerful as sharing a meal. What do you think about these simple yet clever methods? Let us know in the comments section and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more insightful videos.